Welcome to today's podcast of Everyone Has the Freedom to Choose. This is Deb King. Join us for today's cornerstone conversation, Character at All Times. We often think that what we're going through is forever. It may seem like forever, but each season will end. In Ecclesiastes, there is a truth about life and living. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. It is not what happens to us that makes much difference. It is what we do with what happens that exposes strengths and our weaknesses that often builds our character. God gives us the opportunity to grow, become stronger, better people when we depend on Him in all circumstances. Choosing to become more dependent on God for our responses, actions, and attitudes in all of the seasons of our life brings a peace that passes all understanding. He reminds us that there really is a season, which means what we're going through really will end. So, what do we do while going through to the end? Lean into the circumstance and God for the strength of heart and character. Learn as much as we can so to respond in the best way possible. Sometimes it's enjoying a small time of just being alone. There are times it's digging in and doing everything we don't like to get to the best end. Not all days are easy. Everything is not always fair. Our job is to ask God for the best perspective, being able to get our own emotions, actions, and attitude in line with Him. Solomon shows us that there is a balance in Ecclesiastes. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search, and a time to give up, a time to keep, and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Ecclesiastes 3, verses 1 to 8, the New International Version. We cannot just consider the positive, easy, or pain-free circumstances, but those painful and challenging times as well. Going through some of the hardest times, our character not only gets exposed, but also often becomes stronger. We can choose to push through, get up, and love, even when we really don't want to do so, or grumble, become despondent, bitter, and angry. It is through the most challenging times that we choose to be bitter or better. But we need help. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Romans 8, verse 28, the New International Version. While I may not always like the answer or what my response needs to be, when I obey that still small voice in my heart, there is never regret. With each opportunity, there is growth, strength, and a definite building of my character. I think of the people that came along the way, even if I only knew them for a brief time. There was one particular struggle where my company had a series of serious setbacks, instigated by people I was sure could be trusted. They betrayed that trust. The cost, both corporately and personally, was significant. It was the most challenging time in business I had ever experienced, and yet these were the very things that God used to strengthen my core, faith, and character. I am grateful to God for carrying me through the circumstance, for the truths I had learned with the whole struggle, beginning to end. I grew in character, business knowledge, expertise, and faith. Over the years, my perspective changed, making me a better person because of the opportunity, not in spite of the opportunity. That is God. In 1 Peter 3, the Message, Peter sums up how we are to go through our circumstances, good or bad, in all things. Be agreeable, be sympathetic, be loving, be compassionate, be humble. That goes for all of you. No exceptions, no retaliation, no sharp-tongued sarcasm. Instead, bless. That's your job, to bless. You'll be a blessing and also get a blessing. Whoever wants to embrace life and see the day fill up with good, here's what you do. Say nothing evil or hurtful. Snub evil and cultivate good. Run after peace for all you're worth. God looks on all of this with approval, listening and responding well to what He's asked. But He turns His back on those who do evil things. If with heart and soul you're doing good, do you think you can be stopped? Jesus has the last word on everything and everyone, from angels to armies. He's standing right alongside God, and what He says goes. 1 Peter 3, verses 8 to 18, the Message. When we trust God in the good times and those not so easy, we find peace. It is in our obeying Jesus' call to follow Him that we are able to embrace each season in life, knowing He will be walking alongside us, guiding us, and empowering us to follow His lead. Today, can you trust God enough to follow Jesus regardless of the season, with its joys, tears, and challenges? Thanks for listening and being a part of our conversation. You are welcome to pass it on. You can find us at www.debaking.com.